welcome back to VUDivulged, guys. I'm Ida Chambers.
I'm Anthony Polkowski.
And today, we'll be doing kind of events that are going on in the world. And the main one, which we'll bring up here in a second, is the
assassination of Alexei Navalny.
Navalny.
Mm-hmm. But before we do that, we got some. We told you we would keep you all updated of recent shootings, and there's been an update in the Kansas one.
Yeah. So two people were arrested, and their information has finally been released to the public, which took longer than it should have, because when something happens, your information is really pushed out. Unless you are
if it's usually if it's a violent crime, they tend to post these like immediately upon receiving the information, unless it's a juvenile. But one thing we found strange was the two men involved in the attack they were labeled as juveniles, like in the media and a lot of reports, but one's 18, one's 23.
Yeah, so
they are not juvenile. The moment you turn 18, you are no longer a juvenile.
Yeah, which has spurred a lot of discussion, like, what was that over? Why does it take forever to give out the information to the public? Mm-hmm. Which, we're not going to get into that bit, because, honestly, I don't know why. I have some ideas in mind, but I really hope it's not because of that.
Yeah, we're not here to... We're here to give you guys the facts.
Yeah. But from what one of the men, we're not going to say their names, because... not trying to give them credit for some terrible things they've done, but
we're not giving them the publicity that they're after. So.
Yeah, but from what one of the men said when he's being talked to, basically it said that an argument ensued between him and the other person in the shooting and another group of individuals, and basically went back and forth, and some words were thrown around, and when the shooters pulled out a gun and started chasing one of the men, started chasing the group. And he started shooting at them, which prompted them to start shooting back. Which then, obviously, both of them got shot. We don't know about the other group because no information has been pushed out. They haven't been arrested. We don't know what's going on with the other individuals involved in the shooting. But it kind of makes you think, like, really? All this happened over a petty little argument? Mm-hmm. All these people got hurt?
Yeah.
Clearly, these guys can't
put at
hit.
risk, right? All the others in the area. It's all of this over. Yeah, it's. As always, we'll keep you guys more updated as more information comes out. But it took longer than expected for the names to come out, which.
And then you find out there was another group involved, which there's nothing on them yet either. So we'll have to see.
Definitely.
He could be lying.
Yeah, he could be lying, and he could be telling the truth.
Yep.
At this rate, but. Definitely have to keep following up on that. But let's go ahead and get into today's main topic, and that is the assassination of Alexei Navalny.
You're all good, man.
It's spelled Navalny, but that's probably the American pronunciation. He was a Russian citizen. He was born in Moscow and has lived in Russia his entire 47 years. He got a degree in law and worked as a lawyer. And for the last few years, he was kind of seen as Putin's main political rival, right? Like, how in the 2020 election there was Trump and Biden. In Russia, you had Putin and Navalny. And unfortunately, he is believed to be assassinated in a prison camp in Siberia, and a very cold prison. Yeah, even in Russia.
The prison was called the Polar Wolf prison, so that kind of gives you some ideas.
And I believe, if I remember the geography correctly, it was within just like less than 50 miles from the Arctic Circle, right? Like if you got in your car, if you had a flat road between this prison and the North Pole, you could be there in 30 minutes if you had a car. Like it was close. I believe it got up to like negative 18 degrees on a normal day.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
But as you said, the official report from the Russians are that he was just walking outside, kind of had some problems, and he just collapsed. And they said they tried to provide aid for him, but he died. Of course, that has sparked all sorts of conversation because, like you said, he was Putin's main rival, especially in the upcoming.
Yeah, and he founded the Foundation for Fighting Corruption in Russia, and he's been he survived a previous assassination attempt. He was poisoned, and in 2020, people said things like he poisoned they poisoned his teas. There's been some reports that claimed they put a nerve agent in his underwear.
And the nerve agent that was used was called Novichok, which was created by the Soviet Union
during the Cold War. So since they created it, they would clearly have access to it. He was taken to a Russian hospital. The Russian doctors, of course, said they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He was then flown to Germany for medical treatment, and they immediately...
Yeah, they're like...
They pretty much quickly determined what the problem was, and he was able to recover surprisingly from that attempt, especially with a nerve agent.
Novichok is not... I think it's probably one of the deadliest nerve agents out there right now. Like it is no joke.
It is the Russian version of the nerve agent VX, which is believed to be the most dangerous nerve agent known to man.
Him surviving is a miracle, really.
Him surviving and then immediately getting right back up and saying, and still going after Putin politically, was very brave of him to do so. So since he clearly survived an assassination attempt, they are believing that they targeted him again, and that this time they were successful because he was arrested for what is said to be bogus charges of embezzlement and essentially conspiring against the Russian government. Mm-hmm. And so okay, first of all, you're arresting him on bogus charges. You're sending him to pretty much the most isolated prison of all time, and he died shortly when he got there. It's a very cold, and everybody says, well, Russians are used to the cold. Well, yeah, but they're not outside in the cold for very long, right? With air conditioning in buildings and heating, it's not like they're standing outside in the middle of a blizzard 24/7, right? So you send him to the coldest, most isolated prison. He dies shortly or falls ill very quickly, and no one treats him right. It's far away from any medical facility. The facility at the prison was probably not the greatest.
You get sent there, they want you out of the way.
Yeah, so that is essentially what everybody's pretty much believing, right? Despite the Russian parliament are trying to say that, well, he just died, he got a flu, he was sick beforehand.
Actually, hold on. You brought up the flu. They just said that he got the flu, but they wouldn't treat him, though. So if he did die from something like that, it wasn't by any other means, they still caused his death because they would not provide him with medical care.
And over 400 doctors actually signed a letter to Putin, or that's what they, that's what they claim, because, when it comes to assassinations, there's a lot of claims back and forth and what have you, because one side's trying to cover it up, the other side's trying to say, no, clearly you did it because of sending him to the most isolated place. You've attempted to assassinate him before.
I mean, it's hard not to see this as there were a lot of just...
It was definitely a political, and in my opinion, it seems more like a political.
You're never going to learn the facts, especially from Russia. You're never going to get those facts straight out. You always got to be trying to use context clues. All that. Russia has a long history of killing. Well, Putin has a long history of killing political opponents or trying to get them out of the way.
And Russian leaders in the past have also committed, these types of political assassinations. One case that comes to mind was, Georgy Markov. He was a writer and journalist that was very anti-Russian government, and one day he fell ill, and 4 days later he died. Upon further investigation, he realized he had been targeted by what was believed to be a KGB agent, which, for those of you that don't know, the KGB is essentially the Russian equivalent of the CIA, FBI. And what happened was they took an umbrella and they modified it to where the tip could shoot a dart of ricin, which is a biological agent. And when they walked when the agent walked past Georgie, they stuck it to his thigh and it fired this little ball of ricin. I believe the capsule was surrounded
by wax.
By a special wax. So when it went in, it didn't immediately affect him. One, it was probably to contain the agent, but two, it was also time to give the AGB agent time to get away. Sorry, KGB agent time to get away. That way, it looked more like they just bumped into each other.
But also, kind of back to Navalny, another reason why this also sparked like this has to be foul play in it was because they're not giving up his body to the family or his wife, which I feel terrible for because all this has been going on for some time for a husband. But I mean, he was a brave man for standing up for what he thought.
Yeah, and the not returning the body is very, very suspicious because it's what are they trying to cover up? Are they are they going to give a false autopsy? Are they going to put something in, like a substance in his body, like drugs, and say, oh look, he overdosed on drugs? Are they going to create wounds that would resemble a suicide attempt, right? And once you cremate the body, there's nothing you can do.
I'll be honest, I highly doubt they're going to get the body.
I highly doubt it. And if they do get it, it's going to be cremated, and all documentation it's either going to be destroyed or forged. So then there's you know the truth, but you can't prove it, and a very tragic situation for the family, but it definitely appears to be politically motivated.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard.
Like I said earlier, he launched a foundation for forgotten corruption, and he launched the group known as the Anti-Corruption Foundation. He believed the government was very corrupt, and he wanted to, implement change and, take out the corruption.
Yeah, but the corruption got him first. So,
a movie is made about him and his life called Navalny.
You're all good, man. You're all good.
Every time I read it, I want to always try to make sure I get it, but every time I read it. But it did win an Oscar.
That's good. So, I mean, other than that,
Yeah, but while he was in prison, he was labeled an extremist and a terrorist.
Of course.
So.
Makes sense. But, other than that, like I said, there's not a lot of information being pushed out. Like, to that, they're going to be secretive about it. Nothing... It's going to be just straight out, tell you what happened.
And a few days before he actually got sick, he was scheduled to appear in court. And when he did appear in court over a video call, and at one point he was supposed to appear in another court over video, but the prison guards stated that there were electrical problems at the prison. Which, once again... When you're reading into it, it looks like, yeah, you staged it, right? But, Putin's very smart, right? And he can go, well, it's the bad weather at that prison. Sometimes the bad weather at that prison, cold weather, knocks down a power line and we got to fix it again. Sometimes the oil or fuel in the generators freeze and now we have to, warm up the engine. Definitely a lot of mystery, of exactly what happened, but everybody does believe that the Russian authorities did target this man.
We're never going to find out exactly what happened. No, I doubt it.
I doubt it. I doubt
it's to be expected, though.
Once again, with the prison being in the middle of nowhere and the Kremlin having access to his body instead of the family, yeah, I highly doubt we're going to get an actual answer, and I highly doubt that justice will be served.
Yeah. But, other than that, if any more things come out on this case, which, like I said before, I highly doubt this really kept close.
Yeah.
But if we do...
This is really, kept close. They're trying to... Trying to button it all up and just get it out, right?
Yeah. But if information does come out, any proof information, we will make sure to tell you guys. And Got anything else to say?
Not right now.
Well, we'll see you next time, guys.